they're not the big fat one. This would be much more typical of French cooking. And we'll soak those overnight in ample water, and then in a kettle, prepare with the beans. These have been soaked for a time, you see. Prepare with the beans a couple of yellow onions, and we're going to stick the yellow onions. Where are my yellow onions? I have to peel one for you, I think. I don't even have one out here. Well, those are the breaks. Here's one. Here's one. We'll peel a yellow onion and put 2 cloves in it. That's a classic old trick, old French trick, for taking the gamey flavor out of foods. Did you know that? Did you notice how I did this? Cut the bottom end of the onion off first, the root end, and you're much less likely to cry. Dion Lucas taught me that. A long time ago, through a book. Never did even meet the old girl. She was wonderful. She was the one who started all of us cooking and television. Did you know that? She was the first one in New York City, long before any of us were doing this sort of thing. Dion Lucas. So some night, have a glass of wine when you're enjoying a good dish that you learned from some television cook, and toast Dion Lucas. Bless her heart. All right, 1 whole onion, and into that I'm going to place a couple of cloves, and just stick them right in the side of the onion, and that will go in the pot of beans, which you've soaked overnight. There's 1 clove. We'll put in another one. We don't need the skin. All right, that will go into our beans, and in addition to that, we'll need, let's see, we'll need some carrots. We'll put in about 4 carrots into our pot, and some garlic, and then we're going to cover that with broth. Just barely bring it to a cover, you see. I have one all ready for you. And let that simmer for about an hour so that the beans are just barely tender. We don't want them mushy. You don't want mushy. You can't make a good cassoulet with mushy beans. Yuck. It won't work at all. So here's our product ready to go in the casserole. We have the beans. Let me just get my hands in and show you what's here. The beans and the carrot. There's garlic in here, and the good broth that we've made from the wings and the neck. And finally, here's the old onion, you see? With the 2 cloves. This flavored the pot well. Now we'll tuck that into the casserole, which in this case is a brief cassoulet, along with the sauce and the broth, the whole works. There we are. And then we're going to prepare. Now we'll get ready to put this in the oven. I'm not going to do this on top of the stove. I want to put it in the oven. And I have a cup of puree that I've stirred into some more onions. I know, you're going to say, my Lord, is he putting in more and more onions? We're going to put in more onions. The puree, tomato puree, boy, it's about as far as I can get it. Trying to get away from, yeah, got it. Would be stirred into our onions. I have 3 onions here that I've sauteed with more garlic. Can you believe this? There's garlic all over the place. And we would saute the onions and the garlic, and then at the last, add the beautiful tomato puree. And that goes into our casserole. Our cassoulet casserole. How's that for confusion, huh? Oh, you can toss that about a bit if you'd like. And finally, we're going to put in a Polish sausage. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have room to get all of this stuff in here, but we'll come very close. There we are. 1 Polish sausage. It's about 1 pound, huh? About 1 pound, right into the pot. Okay. Ugh, there, just push him down in. And we'll seal the top up. What if this thing explodes? What are we going to do? Beans all over the place. Well, I can think of worse deaths, can't you? We'll seal the top up with wax paper. This will cook down. Don't worry about it. This will cook down. And put a heavy lid on it. And it goes in a 350-degree oven, for a couple of hours. And everything will be ready because you've pre-cooked the pork. You've pre-cooked the duck. The sausage you don't have to worry about. Those are the 3 meats. The beans have been simmered until they're barely tender with a bit of broth, 4 carrots, a little bit of garlic, and the onions stuck with 2 cloves. All right? Then you saute 3 or 4 more onions, along with some more garlic, a little tomato puree, and that is the final layer that goes over our casserole, which is a cassoulet, which is yummy. I'll show you one. If I can get it out of the oven. This one may have exploded. We'll see what happens. This weighs a ton. Oh, or something very close to that. But it will feed a lot of people. And the beans are not actually just a stretcher. The beans have a marvelous flavor in and of themselves. So it's all right to feed beans. Don't think of casseroles as cheap things any more than you should think of pasta as cheap things. That's not the point. The point is that it's easy for you to prepare for a lot of people. Oh, boy. Ouch. Whoops, I forgot something here. Let me get a hot pad so that we don't burn up everything. Now I'm ready All right. We've got to have a crane installed in my kitchen. This stuff is really heavy, but it's wonderful. You ready? There. Now get rid of the wax paper. Well, try and get rid of the wax paper. There it goes. Look at the duck sticking his little head out of the... I shouldn't talk like that. If you're a little child, don't worry about the duck. He's enjoying himself. It's a wonderful place to be. You should have such a happy existence, huh? That's it for the duck, sausage, Polish sausage, and the pork casserole. That would be served, I suppose, with a nice green salad. You're not going to need much more, and a nice glass of wine. You've got a winner every time. Thirdly, let me show you one more here. This one is from the Philippines, and it's called adobo. A-D-O-B-O. Adobo. Very quickly to prepare. It's just delicious. What pot does that one go in? Let me see. Oh, I remember. It's the oval one. Well, it's great. I don't have one on the set. I'll prepare one in this bowl because it's supposed to go in this one. I can't find mine, so it doesn't matter. Let me show you how to put one together because I have all the parts here, and I have one cooking on the stove right now. Adobo. It is a strange mixture because we're going to use chicken and pork together. And most Americans go, that shouldn't blend and match, but it will. You watch. All right, we're going to have one chicken, which we've cut up and pan-fried. You see him? The pieces are cut up, and not into bite-sized pieces, but what I would call serving pieces. You see? There we are. Okay, he goes into the casserole. I know this looks like a bowl. Pretend it's a casserole, for heaven's sakes. All right. Secondly, we're going to add some about 2 pounds of pork, which has been pre-browned in a pan. That's a little more. I think it's a little more than 2 pounds. We'll just put in 2 pounds worth. That's enough. 2 pounds of pork. I'm using pork shoulder or pork butt or pork loin. Pork butt is the fattest of the three. And this is obviously pork butt. It isn't pork shoulder at all. You see how fat it is? You may want to cut down on that by buying a more expensive piece of pork. It depends on who's coming to the party, I suppose. All right. Now, we're going to add 1 entire cup of red wine vinegar. Not red wine, but red wine vinegar. You got that? It's to be vinegary in flavor eventually. Okay, so we'll get a cup of red wine vinegar in on this. And then we're going to add ½ a cup of soy sauce. Oh, I know that it sounds strange to be putting vinegar in meats, but it turns out beautifully. And ½ a cup of soy. And then we're going to add a couple of bay leaves, good old bay again. Interesting blend of flavors, isn't it? Oh, these are the same little stinky bay leaves. Let's use 4. You use a couple of large ones or a couple of little ones. 4 little ones, please. And some pepper. And some salt. And we've got it. Where is my salt? Here it is. And you will cover this now with well, you won't cover it. Just add to it a cup of stock. A cup of chicken stock. That's about a cup of stock right there. And then we will put that in the pan and simmer it for about an hour or so. And at the end of the hour, when the flavors begin to blend and the vinegar mellows out, did you get the recipe? I have chicken and pork. I've pan-fried both of these first. And then I've added to the pan a cup of red wine, a little bit of soy. You can see it blending already down here. And then we've added a couple of bay leaves and some pepper and salt, a cup of chicken stock. So this will have enough moisture to simmer for a bit. We're going to put it in a casserole, put it right on the top of the stove, and after an hour of gentle simmering, let me show you what we'll get here. Let's see what's ready. I hope this one's ready. Wooden spatula. Do you know how hard it is to work with someone who says, I'm going to take the lid off the pot, and then he walks away to the... You know? But we have a lot of fun here anyhow. You ready? There it is. This is just beautiful. See how tender everything is? Oh, it's gorgeous. Now, there's one last ingredient, and you'll probably have trouble finding coconut milk. But I want you to find it if you can. Otherwise, here's the way you make your own. You put a cup... we need a cup of coconut milk for this dish now to finish it. So here's the way you make your own. You put a cup of milk into your food blender. Don't try this in a food processor. It'll just go all over the walls of the place. And pour it with 3/4 of a cup of coconut. And there we are. That's all it takes. I know if you're Filipino, you're going to say, no, that really won't work. But it's as close as we can come in a community where you can't get coconut milk. So at the last of just before your guests are ready to sit down, then you add the coconut milk. And you want to add a cup to this dish. That's a little bit more because, of course, the coconut takes up space too. And we'll stir this in. Oh, this is just, it's just too much. I'm not sure which I'll start. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm sure. I'll start in on the eggplant Italian sausage casserole with the lamb, because I really am a lamb fan from way back, and it's so rich and it's so mellow. Now, if you tell me that you don't like lamb because lamb tastes gamey, calm down until you've tried it cooked this way. In our culture, we generally roast lamb until it's just unbelievably strong and old. But this one is mellow and sweet and delicious. It has that mutton flavor, you see, that you don't want. It doesn't appear in a dish like this. It'll be wonderful for you. Let's put that on our buffet. No, I don't want you to serve all three of these. I want you to realize that the idea behind the casserole is that dishes can be prepared ahead of time and served very conveniently, and you don't have to do much more than, after the work is done, of course, do much more than simply bring them out and set them on the buffet and smile at your guests and then sit down and reap your just rewards. What are those rewards? Well, it seems to me that if you've thought carefully about your guests and if you've prepared a buffet of beautiful casseroles and then, of course, throw out a nice salad and some nice bread and perhaps a bit of wine, you've pretty much prepared a whole meal. It's very exciting, and it's a great compliment to your guests. And in the end, the compliment that comes to you is well worth the effort. None of these dishes are terribly expensive, but they're all involved in terms of time. But if you'll take the time, the reward that comes back will be a kiss at the end of the evening, or a chuckle, or the wise inclination that you will have when you climb into bed to think about what people are saying when they go home from your party. You know how you talk. Well, they talk too. And as they go home from your party, they'll turn to one another and they'll say, Harold, I had no idea that he was that fond of us. That was a wonderful evening. That's the point of entertaining. We don't want to just stuff each other with cheap hors d'oeuvres. We want to celebrate the fact that we really need each other and that we're dependent upon one another. Without your friendship, I'm not a whole person. That's what the table's for. And that's why you should make a good casserole. Forget about the tuna and forget about the noodles and cook some things that will really help your guests have a good time. So my three suggestions for today are not simple, but they're not complex either. This one being the lamb and sausage and eggplant casserole. My sons go crazy over this. And then, of course, the duck and sausage cassoulet, and finally the Philippine pork and chicken adobo. And there it is, so that we can have a grand time celebrating the table with the Frugal Gourmet. Until I see you again, I bid you peace. Bye-bye.